Hello and welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining us on the Ladies of Law podcast. We're going to start with you telling us a little bit about your journey into law and where you are now.
Yeah, I actually didn't do the traditional route into law, never wanted to be a lawyer, never even crossed my mind. And I was absolutely determined when I was a teenager, I would be an actress. Definitely. I went up to London, I auditioned for stage schools, decided to end up at Brunel University doing a course that really didn't suit me, do film and TV studies and drama. Told it was theory, wasn't theory. So yeah, after a couple of months I came home and my mother was determined to get me a job. Apprenticeships is what she was pushing, and there were two on offer: local radio station or law. Now you can guess which one my mum wanted, and you can guess which one I wanted. So obviously mum won, and I got into law. But that was probably the best thing I did. So I went straight to litigation, and that's where I've been ever since. It was a lovely nurturing firm that I was in to start with, and it was a bit Marmite because the marketing was just in your face. But I learned a lot from that. So yeah, it's been a long journey. I had 5 years out because I didn't think it was for me. Didn't think I wanted to go back. But when I came back, I decided, yes, cut me open, I'm a litigator. So
Yeah.
yes, in my own firm, which is an education.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is incredible to me that you thought, right, I'm going to start my own firm. Let's talk about that. What inspired you? What happened? Tell me.
Um, I don't know. I never really was your typical lawyer. You know, if you try and squeeze yourself into the wrong shaped hole for long enough, I think you go one of two ways. You either just you're worn down and you think I'll just fit in, or you go my way and you think I don't care for this anymore. I'm going to do it my own way, and I think I can do this in a way that will resonate with different people, and it will work.
Yeah.
So I was determined and thought about all the ways that I could do things differently or do things in a way that might fit better for the people I wanted to attract as my clients. And yeah, just went for it. Didn't think too hard about it because I probably would have regretted. Probably would have taught myself out of it.
So tell me what the practice looks like and how you designed it then, because I think that's a really interesting niche that you've ended up kind of going into. Tell us about what you created and why.
Um, we have the only practice, certainly in Cornwall, possibly in the southwest or a wider region, that focuses exclusively on civil disputes. No one's tried it before, so I thought, why not? I'm going to test it.
Yeah.
We want to fill a gap because the firms that are here are very established. They're very big. They tend to be full service and they are well-known names. So clients will return to them time and time again, which is great. And if that works for those clients, excellent. I'm really happy. Clearly, those models are working well for them. But what I wanted to do was carve off that litigation department because often I felt that we were a little bit of a last minute consideration. You know, if something's gone wrong, quick, clean up aisle 5, where's the litigation team? Rather than being a sort of business focus.
Yeah.
So we were always called in too late. Inevitably, things have gone wrong. If we'd been called in sooner, we might have been able to nip things in the bud. And I wanted to bring that expertise to a sort of more available, more accessible service. So what we do is offer our services intentionally much lower in terms of price than the larger
Yeah.
firms in the region, because what we want to do is help out the people who fall between the gaps.
Yeah.
So there's no legal aid. They dealt with all of that, but there are not very many people, particularly in this region, who have 50, 70 grand sitting in the bank who say, that's fine, I just want to pursue this, go ahead, here's tens of thousands of pounds. So we want to be able to offer the same level of service to people who aren't able to pay £400-500 an hour
Yeah.
and still need that help.
I
So
love that.
it's making it more accessible and inclusive.
Yeah, and I would imagine as well, so kind of my background at the very beginning was in law and in a larger practice. And sometimes in that practice as well, if you're a client, you're dealing with multiple fee earners, right? And I would imagine with your clients, they're really getting to know you and working alongside you. And I think sometimes that's a real advantage for clients to have that one-to-one relationship. Would you say that you're finding that?
I think people come to us because they want expertise. They they maybe have had a dispute before and have had experience of a firm where they spoke to a partner at first. And
Yeah,
so they thought, brilliant, I'm really important. I'm a VIP here. Great, I'm going to get the best service. But then the business model lends itself to, all right, if that case isn't really expensive, it's going down the line. And they
yeah,
ended up being dealt with by a paralegal or somebody who wasn't that partner. So they thought they were getting this and they
you
actually got
got yeah, yeah,
it. So what we offer is across the board partner level experience.
yeah.
So you're one-on-one, you're certainly getting an expert, and also you're the VIP. You can name whatever you like in terms of the service level, whatever works for you, and we will tailor it.
I love that so much. Um, so tell me a little bit about what your company looks like now.
Well, it was just me in my office at home, but we've had some really huge developments over the last 6 months. In February, we won a competition to win an office, which no, who does that? That's weird, yeah. But we entered the competition. We had to put in a load of information about our business, and we were given an office in the local innovation centre, which is on the site of Exeter University campus up at Tremo in Penryn, which is a beautiful, beautiful site. So we've got that office free for a year. And
Amazing.
also access to a growth coach for the whole year, which is unheard of. So yeah, that's really rocketed us from where I started. But also I reached a point where just my head was going to explode. I had so many hats on and it was really difficult to know which direction I was going. So
Yeah.
luckily, enter stage right, the husband who just happens to be a really experienced litigator.
Amazing.
Lucky me. But yeah, he's I've just appointed him as a director so he could be an equal partner because why the hell not? And everyone assumed it was his firm anyway. So little bit of casual misogyny thrown in there, hey?
Yeah. So you just mentioned that you were wearing multiple hats. I would like to explore that a little bit more because I think sometimes people don't quite realize when you set up your own business, you become everything. You become essentially your own bookkeeper. You become so many different roles and jobs within also leading and doing the day job. So talk to us a little bit about that. How did you find that transition from doing one thing kind of day in, day out to then doing all of it?
Yeah, there are so many things that just secretly go
Oh,
on
so
in
many.
those laws you don't know about until suddenly, oh, I guess I have to do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are lots of things. I mean, you go into a new venture, I think, really romanticized, and you're really excited about what you're going to do differently and how you're going to come to market and who your client's going to be, and you've identified all of that. So you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, there's all this paperwork and these boxes to tick, and I have to fill. What is this zero thing? And what are all these numbers? Yeah, there's a lot. And I think I had to learn early on where my line was in terms of my skill level.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, accounting ain't it.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly happy to interpret accounts. I'm perfectly happy to work with figures. But doing the bookkeeping for my own, because then I have to see the harsh reality of how much I've spent on merch.
Yeah. Same.
Kind of throw myself off a bit using my management hat. Yeah, but there is such a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is. And then those things that you end up outsourcing because they don't fall within the skill set and it frees you up to do other things, you then end up paying for as well. So you've then suddenly got extra overheads. And I always find it such an interesting balance, working out what you do keep, what you don't keep, and the impact that has. But I imagine that's been quite an experience for you, realizing all of these things that you're now responsible for, and then working out what you keep, what you outsource.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite good at knowing when something is outside of my skill set, and I'm quite good at putting my hand up and saying, "Do you know what?
That's not for
I'd
me.
rather for you to do this,"
Yeah, love
because
that.
I just don't want to mess it up. But I am quite protective of things that I know I can do. So I don't really want people to come and say, "Well, actually, this could be done differently." So I'm a bit resistant. I had an amazing executive assistant for a few months at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. Am I allowed to name drop her? Vicky Dickinson. She's amazing.
Yeah,
And she did such a great job at preempting what I needed and putting all the ducks in a row. And then just sort of sending me things and saying, right, here's the questionnaire. Here's how we put this policy and this document together. And I kind of needed that at
yeah,
the time because I felt so that I just didn't know where I was going.
yeah.
I had
It's
so
very
many
overwhelming.
backing up, and yeah, it does get overwhelming. And I think if you're on your own, even more so,
Yeah.
if you've got a team, then I think you can work out if someone else actually has been sitting on some fantastic skill set that you just happen to need at that time. But no, sadly, none of the children were prepared to bookkeep for me.
No, no. Now on to the children. So one of the things that I love about you is you're so open with posting on LinkedIn about your family. That's something I've always kind of struggled with, I think sometimes. For so long I thought to be a professional person you need to make out like work is your whole life, and you haven't got a family in the sidelines. And that was the pressure that I put on myself, but you have so beautifully kind of leaned into the world of, it appears, balance between the family life and the work life. Tell us about your marketing strategy, whether that was part of it. And then I want to know if you really do have the balance.
Does anyone really? I mean, I like to think that I'm doing quite well at
Yeah,
balancing. I haven't missed a sports day or an event so far since we started 8
amazing.
months ago. And it's intentional. I didn't go into this to have more involvement than I had before. I knew it would be hard work, and I knew it would be super, super hard at first, especially because I would wear more hats.
Yeah.
So we have got 5 children. It's a lot, and everyone asks us if we have a telly. We do, several quite large ones. They are needed for entertaining the children. But we when we started, the smallest was a baby. She was not born yet when I had this idea, and we started up putting the blocks in place. I think in the May, and she was born at the end of May. So she was a baby at the beginning, and she was there in the carrier and was next to me on a little cushion when I was typing up all of the paperwork and speaking to the bank and having meetings with people, all the Zoom meetings. She was right there. But I couldn't manage doing all of that new parenting and doing this.
Yeah.
So we had to find a compromise. And it happened that my husband hadn't been able to take any leave when we had the last 2. It was literally the babies were born Sunday morning and he was back in the office at 9 o'clock Monday. So the school run was down to me immediately.
Oh,
Yeah, he was self-employed. There was no provision, no support, anything for him to take any leave. He was head of the department. He was one of the partners. That was how it was, which was really unfortunate because it shouldn't be like that. But that's how it was. So he just retired after 20 years, I think, in litigation from one firm. And it was a great time for that to have happened because it meant he could parent at last,
yeah.
the way he wanted to. And you know what? I'm not going to say he does it better than me, but this baby is so chilled. I'm
Oh,
sure it's personality and it's nothing to do with what he's been doing.
yeah.
But they have such a beautiful relationship, and you can see that they are that bit better bonded because he's been there
Yeah.
all the time, right from the beginning. And that just allowed me to focus on the business. I'm not saying I didn't sort of say, here we go, here's the baby.
Yeah.
I'm still breastfeeding her. I breastfed her right the way through. And, we've co-slept. She's been in the carrier all of the time. She went to
Yeah.
networking. And
Amazing.
he's handled school runs, and I've kept the rest of the mental loads, which
Yeah.
we know is huge.
I think that's just wonderful, isn't it? That you can be that for each other. I think Mark and I have got this brilliant relationship where we look at what we've got coming up in the week and who can do what. Because one of the things when we decided we were going to set up our own business is we wanted to be more present with the children. That was the big thing for the both of us, because until that point we worked full time plus, in all honesty, part-time on top, because you do when you're running your own business. And we were missing out on things like the school runs and the sports days. And gosh, my grandparents, well, my kids' grandparents are fantastic, and they were phenomenal with filling as many gaps as possible. And if you ask the kids, they probably wouldn't have really noticed that much. But we really wanted to be way more present with them this time around with this business. And so we set that same thing that you were talking about, the intent to be there for the school runs. And then we pick things back up in the evenings when they're asleep or they're doing something else. And I really love that you can do that, because the work-life balance automatically just shifts. And we are definitely better bonded as a family as a result of it. So I completely love that you found your way with your husband too, to kind of support each other as much as you possibly can. It does make a massive difference when you're trying to do life and business.
It really does. And you have to, I mean, there are times when it's really tough. You've both got commitments, you've both got deadlines, and then
Yeah.
the children still need looking after. So I'm not going to lie, there are grandparents. They're an hour and 3 hours away, but they come when they're needed. I'm not Stacey Solomon. I don't have my mum and dad pretty much over every day looking
Yeah.
after my children, because I've got things, all the way through the day. We do tend to stagger things. So one of us does knock off to do the school run, and the other one covers. And then at least one of us will do an hour or two in the evening. Most of the time, we don't need to, but we work when our clients need us, and we've
Mhm.
intentionally structured it that way. They're all either parents, they'll have care responsibilities, they might work shifts. Actually, they might be in charge of a multi-million-pound business and not be able to contact us during the day because they've got other commitments.
Yeah.
And so to say to them, no, just give me a ring whenever. Send me an email and I'll be able to pick it up. And if you need to speak to me, that's fine. We'll just have a Zoom.
Yeah.
And provided I'm not, milking the baby to sleep or out watching one of them perform Twinkle Twinkle Little Star at the local bingo, I'm there.
Yeah.
So, I'm
Full advantage.
finding, it's remembering why you're doing it, I think. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing, because you are going to find times when you're not going to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And there are regularly times I have to say, someone's going to have to take this one for me, or um, can you do this so I can do that activity? And it's challenging.
Yeah.
And I think
So
blended families make that worse.
yes, that adds an extra layer. Um, I I would love to know about whether you went into this business with a plan for marketing. And I'd just love to know about your marketing strategy, and if that maybe has evolved over time, because I see how amazing you are on LinkedIn and I see your posts, but I'd really love to hear more about that.
Um, it, I'm surprised to hear I didn't have a plan at all.
And that, I don't think anyone's really got a plan. Which is
No. I mean, I think I had an uphill struggle. I could see that, because the firms around here are really, really established. They've been going 250 years or more. The name's known, and they have a reputation. I'm already on the back foot.
yeah,
So my only option was literally to explode. So I had to be, seemingly at least, everywhere.
yeah,
And I had to grow that network really quickly, because I just come out of 2 years of parenting at home. I hadn't been keeping in touch with anyone who would have been a potential referrer or a potential client. My husband had retired, so anyone who had been associated with his previous firm, obviously there were restrictions.
Yeah.
It was difficult. So my focus was get out there as much as I can, make sure I'm networking absolutely to the max to get that network built up really quickly. But at the same time, attack with as much marketing as I possibly could as locally as possible.
Yeah.
And then the second prong of that was explode on social media
Yeah.
somehow. I didn't know how to do this. In the past, I'd worked at a firm, like I said, their marketing was just wacky, all over the place.
Yeah.
And they just happened to use bright red as well. So I thought, that worked, why not? Although I wanted pink, but a local firm had pink. And then they changed to blue, which was really annoying. So I could have had pink.
Colours.
I know. But I didn't really intend to explode over LinkedIn. I think I had never used it, never posted. When you have that little placeholder CV thing that
Yeah.
you think, great idea when you first start out. I like to open files for the fee earner in the department. It's really stilted, and it was what you put up there just in case someone wanted to recruit you.
Mhm.
when you were 20 and you started your job. So I'd had that, but I didn't know how to use it purposefully. I'd worked at I don't know if you've heard of them, Frugi, an organic children's clothing business. They're global, but they are based down here. I worked with them, and they had an amazing social media presence. They were so good, and they did it in such an alternative but beautiful way. And I learnt so much from working there between law jobs. And that to me was a really lovely way to do it. And when I was a stay-at-home mum, I kind of did a bit of that on Instagram. I wasn't, it wasn't for anything other than this is just documenting what we're doing at home.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that background thinking, why can't we do this in law? And when I went onto LinkedIn, I found there are people who are already doing something like this. I wonder if I could. So I saw the likes of Jen Shipley, John Gregson, and quickly found people like Helen Burness, the marketer.
Yeah. Gosh.
And then Simon Marshall. And I saw all of these people who were really going out there, putting themselves in a vulnerable position and posting about things that weren't what would, when I started my career, have been considered as professional. They were talking about themselves. They were talking about their personal lives and having a family and their mental health and their daily struggles. And that was unheard of.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and thought, wow, this is exactly what I was talking about. Oh, it is possible. And just went out there and started doing it. And it kind of resonated with people, I think, because no one really was doing that in Cornwall. Especially not in law, and they still aren't really.
No, I definitely think it resonated with me. As soon as I kind of found you, I really enjoy reading your posts, I've got to say. And I think there are so many things on LinkedIn where you do find them a bit cold in a way. And I think you really have this ability I can tell that you are in those posts. Like you have written those posts. I can tell that the heart and soul is there. And I just think that's lovely. So I can see already that it most definitely does work and it resonates with people. So next question is, what would you like to see Stutt and Associates achieve? Where are you going with this business?
I have a really bold vision, and I'd really love it to work. It really upsets me when I speak to students and they're looking for work experience and they're told there isn't really anything out there down here.
Yeah.
And they are speaking to their careers advisors, they're speaking to their tutors, and their tutors are saying, well, you should get some city experience. And it really, great. It works for some people. I've never worked in a city. It's very different, but it wasn't for me. And these people are coming to me saying, but I want to stay in Cornwall. This is my home. My family are here. And it just doesn't seem to be promoted that it's actually okay to stay where you are in the regions. You don't need to aspire to go to the city. It isn't for everyone. And it's okay for you to actually feel that way. So our kind of grand plan, I keep saying it's, it was me until, a few weeks ago. giving him a lot of credit. He's been really supportive in the background, but the vision from day one has always been mine. I have always wanted to support the next generation. I've always wanted to make it easier. We've all gone through the horrible um, treatment of others. We've seen it. She's gone on maternity leave, or she's no good to me anymore, or oh, she's not as good as she used to be, or being made redundant when on maternity leave. All these horrible things that we've seen happen, mostly to women in our careers. I would love to be able to pave the way for people to have a much easier journey to get to where they want to be. And I'd love to see more women in leadership roles. There's
Yeah.
a firm locally who actually just appointed, well, not just last year, appointed a board of 3 women. And I was delighted
Yeah.
because it just doesn't happen. There are women at the top. All of them are women. It's great. And we should be seeing more of this. So what we want to do is to encourage and give a little boost to the next generation by putting in place eventually a training academy,
Love
and
that.
training the next generation of litigators so that they will train and also stay here. So we want to train and retain. We don't want them to train and then decide that the glittering lights of the WC postcodes are calling. We would like them to be able to have the balance that we aim to maintain down here.
How wonderful. That is such a really beautiful ambition. I've no doubt you're going to get there. And I bet you're going to get there quicker than you realise. So this conversation started with, oh, Beck, I've worked until midnight. You're going to get there really quickly, lady. I'm sure you are.
We
So
would love to.
you will. You definitely will. Can you tell us some of your big learning moments along the way? And this doesn't have to be with the new business. This can be at any point. I'd love to know what you've learned on your journey so far.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
difficult. I think the first thing is that you have to lean in on community. There are ways of building your business, but the single best, the quickest, and the most inclusive and least lonely is by making sure you have that community around you. So going to networking immediately. I speak to a lot of people who say, oh, I don't really do networking, or I haven't really done this for a few years, but I really enjoy it now.
Yeah.
I think leaning into human interaction, you cannot replace that. And that's where your work is going to come from. Ultimately, we're in business for sales.
Yeah.
We need the work to come from somewhere. And if you're the person who is generous enough to go to an event and be a bit vulnerable, put yourself out there, then that will be rewarded by other people thinking, actually, that's someone I could work with. And although I don't have any work for them, when I next speak to someone who might have something that they can deal with, I'm
Yeah.
going to suggest their name. And so it's a great way to get your name actually put out there in the room that you're not in.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Okay, so we are now down to our last 2 questions, and these are 2
Mhm.
questions that we ask of every guest on the Ladies of Law podcast. So, first one is, knowing what you know now, what one piece of advice would you go back in time and tell yourself?
Oh, go straight in with the merch immediately. I've waited too long.
That's the best. Yeah,
More merch, always more merch. So
always the
ignore
man.
it.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm so in agreement. I have been a massive fan of merchandise forever in all the businesses that and the companies that I've been in. And I genuinely believe, actually, and I know it to be true, that merchandise has brought in more work than anything else. I mean, admittedly, possibly with the networking on top of kind of going, oh guys, here, look, we've got all these things for you. But yeah, massive believer in the merch. Love that. And last question for you then, Lisa, is who do you think we should talk to on the podcast? Because you were recommended to us, and that's why we are here together. So I would love to know who you would pay it forward and suggest that we should speak to.
Oh, there are so many people. Um, there are some
A
really
couple, if you like.
There are some really great next generation lawyers. Charlie Moore is amazing. She is doing really great things on social mobility. and also raising awareness of health conditions, which is amazing. There, have you probably already had her on, Hellas Wynn. She's amazing, Welsh, um,
Oh,
in Bristol, but she is like a Rolodex for any kind of lawyer, or other professional actually. If you need something, she is the best connected person. Her network is, and she genuinely knows these people, and is able to really pay it forward with her recommendations and referrals. She's just phenomenal.
amazing. Okay, I will take. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your time. That has gone so
Thank
quickly.
you.
Thank you for being so open and honest with us. It really is appreciated.